Rob is already drunk. Okay, well, that's a good start to the
All
on
right.
live. We are live. Okay, welcome everyone to Masculine Geek number 28. We have a special guest with us. We have Mack, Kenziepuff, Twitter personality and cosplayer extraordinaire. Mack, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Do you want to introduce yourself a little further? Tell us what you're all about.
Yeah, sure. So my Twitter is kind of a coincidental blow up, so it's hilarious to hear myself referred to as a Twitter personality. It's still really weird for me. I started out in college doing the generic political activist BS. And from there, I kind of graduated from somebody who didn't care about politics to somebody that constantly tweets about it on Twitter all the time. So my political affiliation is definitely centered towards libertarianism. And I try not to get too much into the anti-SJW. I'm really big on being pro things, not just against things. So I kind of use my cosplay and politics blended, especially on Twitter, to just kind of put forward those ideas about libertarianism.
Gotcha. That's a good way to balance it out and kind of sneak it in there.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, we have Luke. Luke, welcome. It's been a while. So cosplay wise, I want to say that it's not fundamentally a nerd geek thing, but I guess it falls under that umbrella. Now, most nerds and geeks have got their start, or I've seemingly have gotten their start in either tabletop games or computer games. Now, is that something that was the same with yourself, or did you just like cosplay has always been your thing?
No, actually cosplay's pretty new. I didn't start cosplaying coincidentally the same time I got involved in politics in around 2016. So up until then, I was always more introverted. It would kind of be the stereotypical geek nerd personality. But I didn't start to get the interest until I got a boyfriend. So
okay.
My now fiance actually was super involved in tabletop gaming and stuff like that, and PC gaming, because PC Master Race. And we got basically our entire circle of friends still to this day is really involved in Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, pretty much those style of tabletop gaming, surrounded more like really more towards like Japanese stuff like anime with the Yu-Gi-Oh. But
gotcha.
I kind of got involved in that side of the nerdy stuff from there, and then graduated to watching anime and that kind of stuff, and then that kind of led into the cosplay eventually in 2016.
Oh, okay. So the cosplay is relatively new.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you walk us through like how do you plan a convention based on what you want to do, or I've noticed you do ask people on Twitter like, "Hey, this is coming up. What do you think I should do?" Is that typical?
Yeah, so I actually haven't really, the farthest I've traveled for a convention now has been about, let's see, Ohio 2 years ago.
Okay.
So still in the Midwest for me, because that's where I'm based. So that's why I've been tweeting out a lot more lately. Hey, what convention should I go to? Because ideally, my goal has always been, since I started in 2016 and got involved in politics, to travel around to these conventions, because I've made a lot of online friends through cosplay who privately message me scared because they can't talk about politics in public.
Exactly.
So they'll message me on Facebook because they see, I'm a fairly reasonable person when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Reasonable and outspoken, yeah.
Yeah. Those are the two best things to be, in my opinion. But
no, absolutely.
So my goal is to travel around. I really haven't traveled as much yet. It's really strange. I think because of the amount of followers that I have on Twitter. Just the other day, I had to correct someone because they were like trying to jab me for cosplaying, and they said, "Well, you cosplay fictional characters for a living." And I go, "Whoa, if I did this for a living, that would be amazing," but I don't. It's a hobby.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you, though, I'm flattered. But so 2020, I've been saying, is going to be my year. I want to get to at least 5 conventions, one on each coast.
Okay.
For sure.
Is Otakon on your list?
No, where is that again?
I think that's a Japanese animation,
really
kind of like, yeah, cosplay, and I believe that's in Baltimore. I want to say Baltimore, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. I hear Baltimore has really big rats, so I don't know if I want to go to that one.
I've heard that as well. The size of small dogs. Yes.
Okay, Mac, there's 2 conventions in Salt Lake that are huge here. One
is
is
Comic-Con?
called Comic-Con is one, and the other one is called FanX.
Oh yeah.
And that one's a little more it's kind of more movie related, but all the pictures I see locally, there ends up being a ton of cosplayers there. So it's kind of getting to be a bigger thing. So if you're looking for, hey, where should I go? You know, I want to branch out. I want to go places. Look into FanX, look into Comic-Con. Utah's got quite the fan base for all of that stuff. So something to look into.
Yeah, I'll for sure look into that.
Cool. Now, your costume wise too, how do you, the ideas for that, is there a specific subject matter or a niche? I don't know too much about it myself.
Yeah, so there's a few different camps of cosplayers. There's people who, of course, craft everything, do everything by hand. There's people who basically partner with brands and they get costumes from them and they kind of make their living that way. They don't actually make things themselves. And then there's kind of people that are in the middle. They'll thrift some things and then they'll make some props for some things. Right now, I'm kind of on the side of I don't make my own stuff. I'd love to eventually, but the distinguishing thing with that is I always publicize that I don't make my stuff because there's been controversy in the past with certain cosplayers lying about making their stuff, and that's where you get to the territory of, oh yeah, and it's so stupid too, they'll buy something off Amazon, and for example, I'm terrible. I would love to get great at prop making because a lot of the cosplays I want to do have huge, awesome props that go with them. And I've done one cosplay with a giant sword and the other with a giant magic staff, basically. And people will say, how did you make that? And I'll go, oh no, here's the Amazon shop. They're really great. They make it in like a week and they ship it to you fast if you need it for a convention. So I'm kind of on the side. I've partnered with like a few like wig shops on Instagram and stuff like that. But that's my favorite part of it.
Okay, so you are getting some custom things.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I have really weird body proportions. My arms and legs are a tall person's, and I have a really short torso, but I'm short. So I have to get a lot of things custom made just to fit my body proportions. I have specific measurements for bodysuits, and one of the companies that I worked with that's based in China at one point emailed me back and said, are you sure these measurements right? I'm like, yeah, I know. It's really weird. I'm shaped like Slender Man. I can't do anything about it. So I don't know what to do. Like, those are my measurements. Trust me. It's fine.
So is that sort of a, how can I put this, where it's considered like street cred within cosplay for someone to make their own stuff? Because I know I have a buddy of mine who's made his own lightsabers. He made his own X-Wing fighter pilot helmet and suit.
Oh, wow.
So, which he wore to the latest Star Wars movies that came out. So it would seem like that would be,
that is cool.
It seems like from what you're saying, in cosplay, like with everything else, there's people who are trying to show how either hardcore they are or how into it, like a way to get sort of a respect within that world is someone who not only is good at playing the part or dressing up in it, but someone who actually makes the stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm obviously pretty new to the hobby, but from everything that I've seen, you have your kind of veterans of cosplay. There's a cosplayer by the name of Yaya Han. She's in her 30s. She's been doing this since she was 12 or 13, and she hand sews everything. One of her cosplays, she made stilts so that she was the correct height for the character. People get really into it and crazy, and those are kind of the people that I've seen be looked up to and respected. But cosplay is kind of going through the same thing a lot of other hobbies, I think, eventually go through, where you're kind of getting, as the hobby becomes more quote unquote mainstream, you get all these kind of newbies in, like me, who don't know anything about it, don't know how to sew their own costumes and stuff like that. So it's kind of going through a shifting balance. But then there's the other side. I think it's a lot more accepted now just because of how, let's just say, a lot of cosplayers don't exactly lean right-wing when it comes to politics.
Right.
So they're a lot more likely to defend each other. Like, you'll have people attack a cosplayer saying, oh, this isn't a good cosplay, this is casual, you didn't make stuff. And people will usually defend them as long as they're honest about it and they're not lying about not making it. That seems to be what the contention is among cosplayers. Like, there's craftsmanship. They're called cosplay masquerades at most conventions, where you make your stuff and judges analyze it and you tell them how you made it. People always ask me, why don't you enter that? Because a lot of cons are including masquerades for people that didn't make their stuff, but that personally feels wrong to me because I have so much respect personally for these people that sit there for hundreds of hours for some costumes and sew or craft foam for armor and stuff like that. So it's definitely a level of respect, but I feel like most people are nice about it. I feel like the only time that it's really an issue, it seems to be, is when someone's caught in a lie about it, which if people are accepting anyway, as long as you're honest, I don't know why people would lie about it, but it happens.
I guess, did you have, when you first were, what made you first get interested in doing this? And did you have any reluctance about actually going? Because a lot of people, they'll be interested in doing something, but nervous about actually admitting that, and then also getting involved in that. Because it's, there's always a perception, there's always fears about what it's actually going to be like. And also, how is everyone else around you going to interpret that, or what do they have visualized in their head?
Yeah, I always tell the story about my mom discovering all the wigs that I own, because that's my favorite part of it, is crafting these wigs and cutting them to look like the characters. That's my favorite part. And I remember my mom stumbling across my wigs and thinking it was some weird sex thing.
That's what I figured.
That's funny.
That was like my worst nightmare, like worst case scenario. Like, if my mom said, oh, or my family said, that's really weird, that's fine. But the fact that that's immediately what she went to, and I get it, but it was so embarrassing.
Where's her mind at?
I mean,
I'm a little worried.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with parents. They'll always revert to, they're doing drugs, sex, they're a part of a cult. They just always run.
Well, you got to get the basics in, TJ.
It's the catastrophic. It's the catastrophic, you know.
No, here's a quick question. All your costumes, and TJ was bringing that up too. Your all the things that you make and or you purchase in your wigs. Storage wise, is that a concern? I mean, not for anything.
It is such a struggle. So my brother went away to college, and at 2016,
Did he take the wrong trunk and someone opened it up and it was all wigs?
No, but my brother, it's such a small world. He went to school in Chicago, and he was on campus, and he said his last name, and someone said, oh, is your sister's name Mackenzie? And he just kind of looked at them, and it was a person that was following my cosplay page, which that never happens because it's not that big, but I thought it was cool. But no, storage wise, I'm very excited that I'm actually getting a house, because I have an entire room set up, and it's basically just going to be a closet for costumes, because it's ridiculous. So what I was saying is, when he moved out, I kind of adapted his closet. He came home one time for break and opened his closet and said, what is this? What are these things? Like, well, I needed extra space. So yeah, it's a huge problem. I know some cosplayers that rent out storage lockers, but I'm not doing that. I'll probably retire some eventually, because that's ridiculous. I'm not going to keep that much stuff. But that's
dedicated and intense. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a testament to the dedication to the niche. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. So what do you have next coming up?
So I'm currently looking into, I'm trying to plan conventions. I have a lot of other stuff going on in my life right now. So
Gotcha.
I am trying to look into the convention that I definitely want to get to in 2020 is Anime Expo out in California.
Okay.
It's huge. It's going to be a really weird experience for me. The biggest convention that I've been to had like 12,000 people maybe. And that's nowhere near the amount of people that they get out at these huge coastal conventions. So that should be an experience for me.
Oh, absolutely.
But
this is an entire
also,
weekend, right? A whole 3-day.
Yeah, actually, Anime Expo, I believe, goes from Thursday to Sunday. So it's actually
4
pretty
days.
much
Okay.
a 4-day extravaganza, or at least they let you register in Thursday. And for a lot of smaller cons, Friday's like the register day and nothing really happens. And then Saturday's the big day. And then Sunday's kind of the wrap up day. So for these bigger conventions, it's a huge dedication of time. So
I know nothing about cosplay. So I have to ask, what exactly do you do at these things?
What would you say you do
here?
So a lot of it for me is just interacting with other cosplayers and just meeting people because I mean, the Midwest has some pretty good big conventions, don't get me wrong, but it's like I said, it's nowhere near the stuff on the coasts. And now that cosplay is getting bigger, they're kind of cosplay celebrities and people that you look up to that are guesting at these conventions that you really want to meet and take pictures with and stuff like that. So, but there's also it's a lot like a Comic-Con, honestly. The anime thing throws people off, but people cosplay from comics and stuff too.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
there's panels with different voice actors. Actually, the big conventions, I watch Japanese with subtitles, but the big conventions actually they fly in like the Japanese voice actors a lot of the times, and they'll do panels and Q&As and stuff about the characters, and there will be fan panels. So I went to one of my favorite ones that I've gone to that was kind of a joke panel. It was like Hot Dads of Anime or something. And they just like jokingly went over characters and would like rip on them and just laugh basically at how cringy they were themselves, which is amazing. I love when people are self-aware. So there's funny panels like that. And then there's serious like Q&A panels with guests that have been invited to the convention and stuff. And kind of in between that, it's basically just walking around staring at everybody's awesome costumes, pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, do you take any downtime on the convention? Like, you just like, all right, I'm not going to dress. I'm going to go out uncostumed, and I'm going to enjoy the convention as a convention goer.
Yeah, I don't know what happened over the past year and a half, but I've really been on this full bodysuit kick. And you can only wear those for so long before you just get absolutely miserable. And it's really hard to go to the bathroom. But
I can only imagine. Yeah.
I usually just change into regular clothes, or I'll just like throw on a wig, or a lot of people will do casual cosplays of the characters. So they'll just literally throw on a t-shirt from the anime and have a wig of the character and just be like, I'm this person, but I'm comfy today. So
You're in your cosplay PJs.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, some
Okay.
people literally just wear PJs. They'll wear like onesie one pieces to be comfy.
I've seen that at a few conventions. Although the last convention I went to was PAX East in 2010. And that was, even back then, I mean, not that it just started, but maybe about midway in its history of longevity. It was insane then, too, the amount of people just rolling through. It's just hundreds of thousands of people. Incorporating PC games, tabletop games, and a little bit of cosplay. And then you've got the different panels and events and things like that. But it's just all under one roof for 4 days. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there's also, even at anime conventions and comic conventions, there's almost always tabletop gaming of some sort going on at some point all 3 days or 4 days that you're there. They have tournaments and stuff you can enter and win like a bunch of packs or something, or sometimes even money and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
a lot of people go there and they'll just play that all day. Or there's game rooms. I always try to, Sunday's usually my Dance Revolution day. I'll wear like a casual costume and I'll just go to the game room and just play that for a few hours because I'm not overheated in a costume. So there's actually a lot of different things to do. It's just, that's usually when you get to the bigger conventions. A lot of the mid-range small conventions, you're pretty much just there to hang out with friends, which is still awesome too. But.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I remember that from the mid to late 80s, going to small conventions in the tri-state area. And that was it. You stood in line to register. There was maybe 30 or 40 people. And by the end of the little 1 day or 2 day convention, you knew everybody.
Yep.
So, and I think that's nostalgia that I still think about. I enjoyed that. I wanted to try Gen Con. I just can't, I can't do it. There's too many people. There's too many people rolling through.
Yeah, and I do wonder myself, coming from, like, the biggest convention I've been to is maybe 11 or 12,000 people at the most. And it's not that I'm not a fan of crowds, I'm just not used to it yet. So I think that's going to take some getting used to for sure. But with Midwest conventions, a lot of the same people are going to the conventions every year. So you hit them up and you say, hey, you're going to this convention? And they say, yeah. And you meet up at some point and hang out and talk and stuff like that. So
Okay.
It'll be an experience going to a huge convention where I have to talk to someone on the phone and guide them to where I am just to see them.
You send your location through your text. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a question from the chat here that maybe you can answer this, Mac. I don't know. Based on your experience, anyway, let's go with that. Are there more women or men who participate in cosplay? Based on your experience, women?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's actually quite a few guys that nail every single cosplay they do that I really look up to as creators. But I feel like a lot of guys that I've talked to tell me, that are in the fandoms at least, tell me they'd love to cosplay, but they seem to be more embarrassed, in my experience, to just get out there and do it. Whereas, I don't know, maybe it's because girls kind of already dress up when they go out anyway sometimes. We're used to it. I don't know. And maybe guys aren't used to, I mean, a lot of these guys at cosplay put on makeup, wigs, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like guys are just a little bit more shy about it.
Except for the reenactor guys, they're different kind of cosplay.
Oh, the LARPers.
The LARPer, yeah. Put on my Union Cavalry outfit. Yeah.
It seems like for guys, they have to be careful walking a fine line where if you're going to do cosplay, and again, I know nothing about cosplay, but if you're going to walk in there dressed like Thor or one of the Avengers, and you almost have to do with this sort of like Tony Stark like mannerism of, I don't take myself that seriously, but I'm here to have fun because I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like you got to do it that way, or just not do it at all. Because if you go in there and you take it too seriously, you're seen as a dork. But if you go in there feeling self-conscious about it, then you're not going to be able to enjoy it, or you're going to everybody's going to notice that. So whereas, and it's hard for I wonder for them to be dressed up in certain things. I love Legend of Zelda. I will never dress up as Link. It's never going to happen. I don't care.
Oh, come on.
I will never. No one's going to walk into my closet and see a blonde wig. There will be questions. So I can see how it's a little restraining, whereas it seems like especially if a girl's younger, like in her early 20s, she can be kind of goofy and silly about it. And if somebody gives her crap, they're just seen as if it's a guy, they're just seen as a jackass. If it's another girl, then people can just say, well, then you're just jealous or whatever. So I wonder if that's the case with reenactors, like, Civil War, World War II thing. That's a little bit more where they're comfortable with, but I wouldn't mind dressing up as Captain America. It's just, I'd have to know what I'm getting myself into. Right.
You actually might be able to pull Captain America off.
I'd have to now I could do the bearded Captain America.
Yeah.
I could do that. Yeah.
Captain America.
You could do James Cagney.
The bitter Captain America. Yeah.
The bitter Captain. This is I'll be brief on the shield.
I've got a question for you, Mackenzie. Going back a little bit, we're backing up here for me for a minute. When you talked about wearing your costumes and whatnot, especially when you were kind of doing full dress, full regalia, and how it would get uncomfortable using the bathroom, all that stuff. What has been your experience, I guess, when you've decided to come back later in the day or the next day, whatever, and you're in either something more toned down or you're in your street attire, you're just in your casual clothes? Do people other than the other, I guess, your friends, your fellow cosplayers, have you ever noticed anyone like they still recognize you? They're like, hey, you're that, whatever it was, whatever character you were portraying. Have you had that kind of recognition even when you've been out of attire?
No.
Oh, you were able to totally blend at that point. Nobody noticed, huh?
Yeah, at least not. I mean, I get picked on a lot because I really like this one character. It's the one I'm cosplaying in my profile picture on Twitter right now. And up until this year, I wore her at least one day to every single convention. So maybe locally people recognize me and they're like, hey, last year, didn't you cosplay this character? I'm like, oh, yeah. But that weekend, no, not really. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the characters that I do, I guess wigs just make me look really different. I don't know. Because I wish I was a person that was way better at makeup, but that's not my thing. I just do wigs and I like to wear the costumes. I'd like to get better at it because some people totally transform their face, which is absolutely amazing. I'm not one of those people. Apparently, I just look a lot different with a bright blue wig on than I do in normal clothes. So.
One other question I've got for you too. Since you mentioned earlier on that you have like your own fan page, whatever you got for your cosplay, have you had, I guess, recognition, your own little 15 seconds of fame type of thing where you get people coming up and they're like, I follow you and yada, 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 that kind of thing? Have you had that happen?
No, the closest thing that I've had happen to that actually ended up being from Instagram. I was waitressing, and it was a year that I couldn't make it to a convention, and somebody came up to me and they asked me if I forget what character I had cosplayed the year before. And I said, yeah. Well, they asked me if I cosplay, and I kind of hesitantly was like, yes.
Maybe.
Maybe. Is this going to be a good interaction or a bad one? But that's pretty much the only thing. I haven't had anybody yet. And I mean, my page is almost at 29,000 likes, I think, on Facebook,
Jesus.
which
Wow.
seems like a lot, but that really, from 2016 to the middle of 2017, I don't know why, but it just blew up. I think it was before Facebook really screwed with their algorithm a lot, because now the algorithm's just absolutely terrible. Unless I post a character that's like currently in a super popular anime, my posts don't get nearly the traction that they used to get on Facebook. So that's one reason why I started focusing more on Twitter and Instagram, because Facebook, I mean, I'll still post every once in a while on my Facebook page to keep it current, but it's not growing near as much what it used to. And it might just have plateaued naturally too after all that growth, but I'll still take it.
Interesting. Well, thanks for the answers on that, because I wondered about that, because I know at least in my neck of the woods, I guess, on the internet, I'll run into guys occasionally and it'll be like, oh, hey, you're him, or you're her, whatever it may be. Or I've had people, very seldom, but I've had people, they're like, you're on Twitter, aren't you? And it's like, who's asking? Why? What is your intent? But I just wondered if you had something like that.
Star Trek. What is your intent?
Pretty much, that's my thoughts. I'm going into it very guarded, because it's like, yeah, I know my views aren't the most popular. So
I do the same thing now. Now that I've combined politics and cosplay on Twitter, especially, if someone comes up to me and they're like, hey,
take a step
I
back.
think I saw one of your tweets. I'm like, which one? Was it a cosplay one? Or are you mad that I said don't date women over 25?
Yeah, that one had to go over like a fart in church.
Yeah,
it did. I've decided I'm going to tweet it every 6 months now, just to see.
you should absolutely do that.
Retweet it with a quote tweet saying friendly reminder.
Oh, no.
Just a reminder. So like our TJ reminders.
That's right.
Hey, but if you just tweet it with a picture of one of your anime things, people aren't going to be able to get outraged. Kind of like the anime character you have with Ludwig von Mises quote, right?
Oh yeah.
You just add anime, just put an anime character in the background, right? Like just randomly have Spike from Cowboy Bebop, and then just a quote from F.A. Hayek or something like that.
Yeah, that's my I like photoshopped a bunch of libertarian. So originally actually in the photo, in my cover photo, she's holding a watermelon about to eat it. And I photoshopped books that I've read and enjoyed that are libertarian philosophy on there. So maybe that's what I'll try to do. I'll just start posting anime quotes. Like those landscape photos with random quotes on them, except it'll be anime girls.
Right.
Well, that's a good one. There's your, I guess your, if you're going to combine politics with your cosplay, there's a good way to kind of how we're trying to subtly, not so subtly, make TJ into a meme.
Yeah.
You could do the same thing. You know, you could put whatever you want, especially if it's one of your more controversial opinions, you know, in one of those things, and you know, light up all of your leftists or whatever, you know, get them all fired up, get them all riled up. So
yeah, I might be riling up Twitter in
just a
few
tad.
months.
Just a tad.
Now I'm curious. Oh, go ahead.
I'm doing a cosplay that I'm not doing it to rile up Twitter, but I'm kind of worried that it might. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Well, my advice on it is fuck it, do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Well,
When in doubt, everything is yes until it's no.
Well, just be prepared to monetize the outrage.
There you go.
Right. This
monetize
is what
haters.
Yes, as Tom Woods would say, monetize your enemies, and because this is not to get too much into this, but I guess one question is there any horror stories from these cosplay convention type things, and also is there any concerns about just whenever you do stuff like this, you know, you get guys and you also get girls as well, depending on, you know, whatever, but they see somebody and they're like, oh, you're exactly what I was hoping to see in that character or whatever. And then it's like, you got a stalker or something like that. And you got to pull out the pistol in the parking lot and tell them to get lost or something like that. You know, you pull out the blaster on your hip and say, yeah, this is not a toy. This was not sent to me by the Chinese.
I wish I could carry at cosplay conventions, but actually that's why I don't even use props a lot, because I've cosplayed Zero Suit Samus and she has her little gun that she carries. And I emailed my local convention to say, hey, if I paint this, because I got it 3D printed. And I said, hey, if I paint this, is it going to be okay? Or are you going to make me stick an ugly orange tag on it that's going to look bad in photos? And they said, no, it looks too realistic. I'm like,
what's the idea?
It's a science fiction laser gun. Like, what? So that's why I stay away from props a lot. But speaking of stalkers, this guy wasn't a stalker. I'm going to talk about him anyway. He's not real. He emailed me. So this guy replied to one of my tweets a month and a half ago. And I don't even remember what he said, but I just blocked him. It was something ignorant. And I was like, whatever, I'm not going to respond to you. And it was clearly an account that was made very, very recently. Not just, oh, you don't have enough followers. I mean, he had one follower that I think was another fake account that he made, and he was tweeting me. So I'm not going to give you my attention. Sorry.
Ruh-roh.
So then he emailed me.
Oh, no.
Shit.
Jeez.
Here we go.
Yeah. So
Good night,
I'm
folks.
just thinking, okay, Steve Smith, because that's really his real name.
Steve Smith.
It was his Twitter name, and that's what he emailed me from. And he typed out this big old long boomer paragraph about how he knows that I travel to conventions, which, as you guys now know, I don't do that. So it's hilarious that he's trying to threaten me with something. He said, oh, I've seen you at conventions. I'm like, dude, I've traveled to 3 states very close to where I live. No, you haven't. You're lying to try to scare me. I'm not an idiot. And he's like, I'll see you very soon at a convention, implying that I don't always have at least 2 people with me at all times. Like, come on, people. So, and then I didn't respond to his email. So he found my Liberty YouTube channel and started commenting on my videos. And he was literally like, he copy and pasted the email into my comment section.
Wow.
I'm like, dude,
Man,
calm down.
Gammas
Like,
are gonna gamma.
Yeah,
Well, that's where you got to say, you know, when you got haters, you've moved into the big leagues, and I've seen the meme go around from various people, but it's that one about you know, you get blocked, but yet you come in under an alt or whatever else, but you know, you're not a hater, bitch, you're a fan. And that's what this is. You know, you're just living rent free in his head. So
well,
Right,
that's the thing. It's always I think that's partly goes back to why people might be reluctant to do this kind of stuff, because there's a perception that there's weird people at these conventions, and you just stuff like that can happen where you get, not that your example happened in that instance, but you show up and somebody just you attract the shark, right? And then they follow you around and become obsessive, and then you got to deal with it, and there's nothing you can do about it as long as what they're doing is not illegal. But it's still just nobody wants to deal with that, right? Nobody wants to go to a convention worried about whether their stalker, creeper, psychopath is going to be there.
Well, and that's the funny thing. Well, it's not really funny. Okay, it's kind of funny about the cosplay community.
it's hilarious. Come on, it's all good.
It's funny to me is, so I get you guys don't really attend these, but there's been this huge movement in recent years called cosplay is not consent. And I agree, don't get me wrong. But basically it's these girls that are, oh, these guys are grabbing my butt or they're hugging me, and people do, it's called glomping, where they like run up to you and they hug you and you're like, who are you and why do you smell funny?
Why do you smell like BO?
Yeah, so that's been a movement, and I get it, but the funny thing to me about it is, like I've said before, I know there are closet right-wingers and centrists and libertarians in the cosplay community, but the most outspoken nutso ones are leftists. And these are the same people saying cosplay is not consent. I'm like, it's your people that are molesting you.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, not for anything.
Your
Yeah,
own people. I don't. It's all these guys, all these nice guy male feminists that are grabbing your butt when you walk past in a latex suit. Why don't you take it up with them? It's not my fault.
Cosplay is not consent, as if anybody's actually genuinely confused about the issue.
Oh yeah, I mean it's only recently it's only recently there's been codes of conduct that have been enforced in gaming conventions, and it's sort of ridiculous.
Now, it could just be because my fiance always comes with me, or I'll have a male friend come with me. But and I try not to walk alone just because I do talk about politics. I'm far more worried about people attacking me for that than from some outfit I'm wearing.
Yeah.
But I've never, don't get me wrong, there's been really awkward, weird people who kind of get in my space, but I've never had someone like follow me around a convention and stuff like that. And it might be just because I'm never or rarely by myself, but that's why I do that, because I'm not trying to be followed by weird people. Some guy came up to me all excited and had like been messaging my Facebook page because he knew I was local based on where I was saying what convention I was going to, I guess. And he was messaging my page. This is the outfit that I'm going to be wearing. Coincidentally, TJ, he was dressed as Link. I'm not judging, but
it was TJ.
Again, this is why you don't dress up as Link, right? It's just it's a firm rule. You never cosplay as Link, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the Legend of Zelda, right?
Yeah, I'm doing Zelda soon. But he came up to me and I was dressed as a character that I really like. And he came up to me and he called me a completely different character from the anime. And I was unironically triggered because it's a character it's a character that people online, like, they'll fight over who's best girl. And I was who I think is the best girl in the anime, and he called me the opposite thing, but he was totally serious. Like, he really thought that's who I was because he was trying to awkwardly relate to me, even though he clearly never seen the show. And I just kind of quietly walked away from him and like just didn't say anything because I don't like confrontation at all.
Just turn around and walk away.
Okay,
now,
buddy.
Is there a protocol for asking for a photo? That's another question that we have in the chat.
Yeah. A big taboo is just kind of trying to sneak photos of people. I think the only time I ever say no to a photo is if I'm eating, which is very annoying, and people just have no social awareness. Though, like, I was shoving my face with Chinese food. I don't have my fangs in. I don't have my fangs in for my cosplay that I was wearing, or my horns on.
And they want a photo.
And they're like, "Hey, can I get a photo?" I'm like, "Can I go brush my teeth first?" Like, I don't. That's the only thing. But really, pretty much everybody. I mean, some people might say no, because a lot of people don't like to get their photo taken. But that's one of my favorite parts, is when somebody comes up to me and gets all excited because I'm dressed as their favorite character and wants a selfie with me, or just a photo of me, or whatever.
I was gonna say that has to be a nice feeling. That has to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially. I mean, a lot of the characters. I kind of have a rule. I try not to cosplay anything I haven't watched or played myself, because that's another kind of taboo thing that nobody talks about. Since it's a new hobby, a lot of people are just it's kind of like the fake gamer girl thing. People are just kind of latching onto it. So I try to avoid that stereotype as much as I can. Now, I've never played the Metroid games, but my fiance really likes Samus, so I did make an exception. And I'm cosplaying Zelda, which I can't ever even find the sword in the game because I'm very bad at video games. But he also likes Zelda a lot, so I'm cosplaying the Breath of the Wild version of Zelda for him and some other friends that really like those games. But besides that, if a friend doesn't specifically request it, I don't cosplay it if I haven't played the games or watched the shows or anything, because it's just a personal thing for me. A lot of people do it. It feels kind of weird to me.
Gotcha.
So just for the record, you have seen Cowboy Bebop, right?
No.
Oh, what?
Uh-oh.
We gotta get Aaron. We have to get Aaron in here.
Get Aaron in here.
It's
I don't know if you saw the episode with Rollo Tomasi, but
I did.
Yeah, he's talking anime, and I was like,
he hasn't seen it either. We have to.
I heard him call it tentacle porn, and I'm not gonna lie, I lost it because I know what Cowboy Bebop is.
I don't know why his brain went there either. We have to get we have to do some psychoanalysis on him. But
to be fair, a lot of people, if you're an online person, you think anime, for some reason, anime and hentai are the same thing to normie people that don't watch anime.
Yeah, no.
So the tentacle thing, that's kind of like a common way people make fun of people that watch anime. It's like, that tentacle stuff, you're into that stuff?
So that's only on that's only on Tuesdays. Leave me alone. Now, we have another question from the chat. As far as weapons are concerned, do they have to be as proppy, like foam plastic, as possible to allow them in, or can they be a little more realistic?
Different conventions have different rules, but unfortunately, some idiots have tried to bring in real firearms to the conventions as
that's always a good idea.
Yeah. So, and I hate the TSA, and my local convention has started making me walk through a line where I have to open up my bag with like my makeup and brush in it and stuff to touch up in the bathroom, and I have to go, nope, no guns in this drawstring bag here, because people are trying to get away with stuff like that. Which I've been really into this phone app called Girls Frontline, and it's basically cute anime girls anthropomorphized as like classic firearms. And I can't cosplay a World War II rifle without getting a very realistic airsoft replica, but a lot of conventions are going to make you slap a giant ugly orange tip on the end, or like a giant orange zip tie a lot of the times. Like my cosplay where I had a sword and a staff, they made me put a zip tie on. But depending on who you get, a lot of the times they'll be like, okay, where do you want the zip tie? So you can kind of put your hand around something so it's not noticeable in photos. But some conventions are nuts about it. They have lists of rules that you have to look at if you want to use props, which is why I just try to avoid it, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Like the modern version of the peace knot on a weapon, yeah. That is annoying. Pardon me for all right. Stretching.
You were mentioning that there's just been politics that's been coming into the cosplay world. I guess since you're into politics as well, I think you're familiar enough with how this operates. People come in, they try to inject their politics, and anybody who's openly against them, they get rid of, and then they start converging the rest of it. Have you been thinking about how that's going to affect your ability to continue doing this in the long term, and also I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Because this is the biggest concern I have when I want to get involved in something is I look around and say, are there any SJWs here yet? Because if they're not, okay, the next thing I want to do is find the person who controls the space, and I want to make sure that they're actually going to hold the line on it. But it seems like that has already happened with cosplay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like musicians though. You wouldn't think, I mean, a lot of, like, I have a friend that's in the metal scene, and a lot of that, at least a lot of outspoken ones lately in modern culture, tend to lean left and be very outspoken about it. And you're like, dude, I just want to watch you play the guitar. Can you shut up? I don't care if you voted for Bernie Sanders. Just play the song.
Nobody gives a shit. Yeah.
Right.
I actually personally, and this might change eventually, but my Twitter is not on I have business cards I hand out at conventions if somebody asks for a photo, so they can tag me on Instagram if they put it on Instagram, or find my page, and my Twitter's not on there.
Yeah.
Like, full disclosure, my Twitter is not on my business cards. And it's not that I don't want people, I'm not hiding it, obviously. It's kind of hard to hide at this point.
Right.
But I want people to be exposed to me through my Facebook page or my Instagram first, and get to know me as a person. Maybe not personally if they're just a fan of me online, but in my experience, there's a lot of artists that I really respect musically and just talent-wise that later I found out their politics, and it bummed me out, but I still appreciated what they were doing. So it kind of alleviated the blow a little bit when I found out they were giant socialists. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do with myself. And I realize some people are just crazy and they might stumble across it and try to cancel me or whatever that means. But I'm kind of prepared for it already, to be honest with you. I was in activism on college campuses, and people would just stare me in the face and tell me that they were communists, and to get away from them when I was just trying to get them to sign a free speech petition. So unfortunately, I've kind of already come into contact with crazies. When my politics Facebook page had 300 likes, somebody doxed me from Antifa. So
Whoa, what?
Just do it. Yeah, I've already been doxed. So, I mean, it was years ago, but yeah. And it was just me rolling around. On my YouTube channel, I used to have a bunch of videos of me vlogging when I would go to these campuses and do these events. And some 37-year-old dude from Michigan just decided that he didn't like my Facebook page, which, like I said, was super tiny and very inoffensive at that point. And I banned him from my page, and he didn't like that. I'm seeing a trend here with these people. And he came back on a different account that was named very similar in the comments of my Facebook page, and was posting my address in all my comments, and said, basically, people should know where fascists sleep. I'm like, you just doxed me and you're trying to get me killed, but I'm a fascist? Okay. Like, solid logic, dude. But
well, yeah, and that's what. So I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in the safe zone on the east side of the Cascades, but that's been sort of my thought is I want to try to separate the stuff that I do here in a lot of ways. But then I just thought, if I try to minimize if you're not towing the line with these people, it doesn't matter. They hate you anyways. So I might as well just speak my mind, because I don't want to live my life in fear and trying to watch what I say and then later lose it all anyways. And I've already taken precautions and taken steps so that I don't have to worry about stuff. And I live out in a rural area where there are people here who are willing to do things to make sure that no harm comes to me. So
got a little militia up there.
I'll say what?
Got a little militia up there to defend you.
It's like she knows things about you, TJ.
I would just say more of it's an area that is just more, they're just live and let live kind of stuff. The fanatics are all on the west side. They tend to be like I call them. I jokingly, or I don't jokingly say that my state is a secular theocracy, right? But all the missionaries and the witch finder generals, they're all on the west side for the most part. They're in the Seattle area where they've congregated. They're trying to bring missionaries over here, but it's not as successful because our winters are cold and all that other stuff. But that's my conclusion that I had with the stuff that I do here in my writing, that I do for short stories for different magazines and stuff like that. The idea that they get to control what we do without having to do anything, that we're out of fear, we silence ourselves or we watch what we do in innocuous activities like cosplay or whatever, or you're talking about economics. I mean, when we're in a world where Ludwig von Mises, speaking of which, when quoting Ludwig von Mises becomes dangerous, we're in a bad spot anyways. So
there's the Mises Institute is really what launched me into anarcho-capitalism from your centrist kind of libertarian, complete kind of apathetic politics kind of thing. And they regularly, I know the people that run the institute personally. I went there last summer for a week-long seminar, basically.
Oh, okay.
And they're amazing people, and they're perfectly reasonable. And there are people who call them Nazis. Now, like, Mises fled the Nazis. These people are insane.
Ridiculous.
So, going back to the point, about, it's really about soft censorship is what it is, or it's just censorship, to be completely honest. And it's kind of like one of my biggest pet peeves on social media and Twitter especially is, so I'm followed by a lot of quote unquote anime right people, and they tend to lean alt-right, and that's just how they are. But I'm not a leftist, so they don't care. And they affectionately call me their ethot, and it's fine. Like, I don't care. Like, do what you want. And because I'm not the kind of person that lashes out when I'm called stupid stuff like that, they went, oh, hey, this person's kind of okay. They're not a crazy person. They didn't lash out at me or try to send their followers after me or anything when they did that. So I have a little group of them that follow me, and I'll interact with them sometimes. But because of that, people will say, oh, well, look at all the type of people that are responding to your tweets. And I'm like, you're just trying to censor what I'm saying by holding me responsible for 15.8 thousand people that follow me. You want me to go through my follow list and make sure no bad people are following me? Good luck.
Yeah, as if these people, this is classic, is where they create fake accounts that respond with over-the-top nonsense, and then they say, well, look at who they have supporting them or backing them. Yes, because nobody ever has dishonestly pretended like that's what somebody actually said.
No.
So it kind of reminded me of how Daniel Defoe was that English writer. He actually was planted inside of an opposition newspaper as the editor. So he was controlling the newspaper of the opposition to his government, right? So he could have controlled or censored what they said to downplay it, or he could have made it very inflammatory and made it sound much more extreme and violent than it actually was, right? So this is where authenticity and actually knowing what somebody's saying and not saying. But yeah, that's another way that they censor them. Or somebody goes, well, this person did something violent because they watched this video, or they listened to this person, or they clicked on an article or blog post, and wait until they write an article about how who knows, something is taking over cosplay, like extremism, right? Right-wing extremism is taking over cosplay.
With my face on the front of it.
Yeah. You know what? They probably wouldn't, because it would be bad rhetoric. People would look at that and say, wait a minute, that's what cosplay is, right? They're going to have to find somebody. They're going to have to find some.
Be a white male on the front. They wouldn't put a woman on the front.
No, because then they'd be accused of being sexist. And
well, yeah, women are a protected class. Can't go after them. So I got a question for you, Mackenzie. Something for posterity's sake, that if any of your followers on the left, I guess, end up finding this video, just something to maybe give them a little bit of night terrors or, cold sweats in the morning type of thing. You have a wide variety of people, as you've already pointed out. You've got red pill guys, you've got people on the right. Let me ask you this, since we are talking politics here. Do you get in your DMs in particular, not trying to out anybody, but do you get a lot of people when you put up something controversial, at least according to the left, you put up anything that gets their hackles up and they give you a lot of shit? Do you get a lot of support, I guess, in your DMs from people going, good for you, you know, you go type of thing? Do you see a lot of that? A lot of, you know, hey, I support what you're saying or doing, basically, words of encouragement?
I get a lot of flack for this, actually. It's funny you bring up DMs. I closed my DMs on Twitter. And anytime I hear, unless you follow me, if we follow each other, you can DM me. But
Right. Well, and I'm
selective.
thinking even of those that are actual people that follow you.
Yeah, I for sure do. And honestly, that's one of the things that keeps me going. And I'm gonna make a video on this eventually. I never even talked about anything related to men's issues, red pill, feminine, anything like that until about a year ago, when I really started sitting down and looking at stuff and seeing the gender dynamics. And it's really present in the cosplay community with the cosplay is not consent stuff and the Me Too movement and stuff like that. And just, you hear your whole life being a woman that you're oppressed, and then you get on the internet and there are a subset of people that just worship you for existing. And then I have seen guys post the same things that I post and get flack for it. And I don't, because I have that little bit of protection. And I just started thinking, this is bullshit, to be quite frank. And I'll get emails. And I've even had friends who have stumbled across my Twitter that I met through politics that we don't really talk, but we're Facebook friends on my personal Facebook. And they'll message me and they'll just thank me just for talking about these things. And those are the kind of people that I keep talking about this stuff for. It's not because I want to trigger the libs or own the libs or anything like that. That's just a bonus. But it's the people that reach out to me, whether it's they follow me on Twitter and DMs and they say, hey, I'm glad you're talking about this, or they just ask me questions. A lot of the times I'll tweet something and someone who's followed me for a long time will think it's out of character for me or not understand what I mean. And they'll DM me and they'll ask me what I mean and I'll explain it and we'll actually have a discussion. And those are the people that I keep tweeting this stuff for. So it definitely does happen. And that's why I just keep doing it and chugging along, because of the support, not because, like I said at the beginning, I like to be pro stuff, not anti stuff. As much as I do dislike a lot of the things that are going on, I try to keep in mind that I'm doing this for a positive reason, not for a negative reason, because I want to bother a bunch of people.
Right.
So you hear that, you leftists? There are people, a lot of us out there that you're not hearing from. You think you have the control.
You really don't.
But you really don't.
You don't.
We're just a little more behind the scenes.
That's a big criticism that I get on Twitter, actually, is that I'm too antagonistic and I'm negative and stuff like that. But then these are the same people that I tweet that I'm getting married this year, and they say that I'm talking about it too much and that I'm doing it for attention. I'm like, do you want me to be positive or do you want me to keep talking about politics? I'm confused. I was trying to throw some good stuff in there.
Do you want me to be honest? No, lie to us. We like that.
Yeah, I'm finding out people love to be lied to. So a lot of those people have me blocked now, and I'm sure they're watching my Twitter still. Don't get me wrong, but at least they don't directly respond to my tweets and try to cancel me anymore. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of a win-win for you on that one. At least they're still watching. Just like my 5 exes that decided to be soy and downvote this video. It's one of those. There's
we have like 4 dislikes already. I'm like,
yeah, we've got 5, and it's somebody that it's haters are gonna hate.
They have
understand that
they have it's 1 or 2 people with multiple accounts that just
exactly.
It happens every time. Well, not every time, but I'd
pretty
say
much
80% of the time it's like an immediate 4 or 5. So we know it's almost the same.
It's one person, basically 1 or 2. And all I can say is, you know what? We're just living rent free in their head. That's all this is. It's
exactly
there. It's like, you're not a hater, bitch. You're a fan.
Yep.
And I love it to be able to put something out there, whether it's on Twitter or it's, you know, something like this, where you can kind of poke the, you know, put a little salt in that open wound where they're racing to, you know, racing to the bottom to be the biggest victim, and to be able to say, you know, we are the silent majority. We are not, you know, it's if you get caught up in the bullshit on Twitter, you'd think that all there is a bunch of leftists. And the truth is it's not quite that delineated. It's like, no, there's a lot of us out there that we may not say a lot of shit, but we're watching it and we're going, whatever. You know, I tweeted that the other day, that it's not the tweets, it's in the replies, but in reality, it's in the DMs, all the actions in the DMs. And it's just one of them things that it's like, yeah, you don't quite have all the control and the numbers that you think you do.
And speaking of numbers, Rob, you're up. It is 10.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, you're watching right now. I see 17 people watching on my end. Hit the like button, guys. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little notification bell. When you hit like, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything but a click, and it sends tingles to the algorithm of YouTube's vajayjay. It gets gets more exposure to us. Share the video with people you think that would benefit from it. You know, whatever it may be, get it out there. So there's my 2 cents.
Well said, as always.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So where do we leave off here after our midway sponsorship?
Oh, it's just me getting on my soapbox saying that there's more on the middle, I guess, not necessarily as I know I don't identify as like alt-right.
Gotcha. I had to deal with the cat. Sorry.
I get it.
I missed some stuff.
But it's just one of those, you know, there's more sane people than the insane left thinks there is. And Mackenzie's one of them, as far as I'm concerned, that she's just putting the message out there that, hello, you lunatics, you fucking nut jobs. There's more of us out there than you'll think.
Well, so I think it's really just the tale of the emperor with no clothes, the emperor's new suit, or whatever it actually was called. It's that writ large, where he's strolling down the street naked, but of course everyone's been told only wise people can see the clothes. Anyone else is a fool. So of course, everyone out there no one can see clothes, but no one wants to admit they're a fool because they bought into this nonsense. So they're all cheering. And then some kid just goes, "That guy's naked," and then everybody starts laughing. And it's like all it takes is one person willing to point out the obvious, and suddenly everybody's like, "Oh, And what was funny is the kid. It's like, what are they going to say to him? You're a fool. I think it's like everybody knew that the emperor was naked in the story. It's fiction, but it's just the same thing. There's a handful of people who are very have tons of the fanaticism, and then you've got most people who just they aren't fighters. They're going to just all they want to know is, what do I need to do to get along and go along with whatever is happening in society. So if I'm told to jump, I'll jump. If I'm told to jump this high,
that's the easiest sort of path of least resistance for people to take.
Yeah,
they're afraid of being doxxed or outed or losing their job or just the social ostracization.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Right, and so I agree in a sense that I think that's why, at least for me, I just have become more and more of a hardliner on some stuff where...
Well, you have to be.
Right. And it's interesting how other people will become hardlined as well, who used to be go along, get along, when they realize that there's no option. That's not an option. That is that's you wanting to have to recline on a deck chair on the Titanic. You can enjoy it for a few minutes, but you are going to sink.
Exactly. And that's what that goes back to something you were saying earlier. It's like, yeah, I can capitulate and keep my mouth shut, but I'm still going to be taken down. So I might as well, you know what? I might as well draw the line and speak my mind.
Right. Nothing I do or say is going to placate them. So why bother? Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's funny is they've removed the carrot. They just have the stick. Well, all I need to do is get a bigger stick.
Exactly.
All right.
Well,
So
walk softly.
Yeah, and so somebody will say, "Well, how can you say this?" And it's like, what incentive are you giving me to not say that? Right? I don't care what you think anymore because there's nothing I can do that's going to placate you or make you happy or whatever. Like, there's no scenario where if you just be a good boy, if you just follow the rules, if you just do everything the right way.
Well, that's
you'll be
the
fine.
old that's the old set of books too.
Well, that was the old set of books. And so that's where I a part of it is just avoiding trouble in different spaces that I enter where I don't engage on stuff. But if people get in my face or ask me or try to get me involved in stuff where they're trying to get me to agree to stuff, I'll be like, no, that's stupid. Kind of like one of my relatives used to say to his wife, "No, Ma, that's stupid. We're not doing it."
Exactly.
That's
I guess
exactly pretty much where I came from.
Gotcha. What is the weirdest cosplay outfit that you've seen?
You just read my mind.
Oh. Weirdest cosplay outfit or like the weirdest people that attend these? Because I have a specific group I'm afraid of.
Let's
do both.
break it down. Do both. Yeah.
The weirdest cosplay outfit. There's these people. I don't know why they do this. They're not really cosplaying anything, but I guess they think they're wearing cosplay. They'll just wear those morph suits. But they're not anything. They're just wearing the morph suits and they're just running around being really weird. So that's like the weirdest cosplay thing. I don't exactly know if maybe that's from something and I just don't get the reference, but they literally just wear those one-piece body, full face over the face morph suits that you can get from Halloween stores every October, and they'll just run around and like, I don't know, it's very weird. I also really don't like furries.
Who does?
And I'm pretty sure some follow me.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm scared of them.
So what?
Just scared of them.
They make me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Scared of them.
As in nightmare scared.
As in, I run from them when I see them at conventions.
Wow.
Where'd she go? I wanted to get a picture. She just disappeared.
Probably. I think it's that I can't see their faces, but I've never been scared of I wanted to be a mascot in college. Like, that was my goal. I'm like, I'm going to be the mascot of the football team. You had to be just over 5 feet tall. It was my niche. I'm like, I'm doing it. And then I realized I don't have good enough grades to be the mascot. So I can't because I hated college. So my mascot dream died. And then I discovered furries. And they're like mascots, but way scarier. I think
it's not just scary. It's just creepy. It's that creepy. It's not even cringe. This is a person that has something wrong with them, right? It's like the bronies, right? It's if you see a guy.
That's another whole level of ridiculousness.
That's a whole level. But if you saw an adult man dressed up as one of My Little Ponies at a cosplay, that's where you just call the cops, right?
Well, it's not so much that they're dressed up in that. It's just they like the cartoon, they like the culture, they wear the pink shirt. And I actually, when I was at a cafe writing, and I had to sit next to one and listen to the inane chatter to the point where I had to get up and leave.
Well, it's like they're either highly maximum level creepy or highly maximum level autistic. Like one of those two, right?
Well,
you can have
probably a pleasant mix of them both, yeah, or
right.
Unpleasant mix of them both,
right? And so, but yeah, that's the creep factor where I walk into a space, I see a furry, my natural gut instinct is to reach for the shotgun. And it's just
the shotgun.
It's just like cleansing. Get the flamethrower, cleansing fire. We need to purge this.
Don't we have a holiday for that?
Yeah. It's furry season.
There you go. What was that Steve Martin movie where there was one day it was just like you could shoot at people like randomly? I forget the name of the movie.
I'm just like, it shouldn't be it should be a pardonable offense to remove them.
You just have to stay. You have to stay away from the furry convention. That's all. Just to be alerted. You get just get the alerts.
Cosplay conventions, though.
Wait, they do? They go there too?
Yes, because I don't go to furry conventions.
Well, just checking. You never know. Just,
Is there such a fucking thing as furry conventions?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
That's
yeah.
a thing? Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Joe Rogan
Oh, God.
actually got
Rob.
stuck in one.
Duck season, Wabbit season.
God.
Furry season.
Boot
Fire.
You're so lovely.
Be very
I'm so
quiet.
in
I'm
trouble
hunting
with
furries.
Eh,
Always.
God, yeah, just stay away from that. I guess just don't go near them.
So, moving away from that a little bit.
The
what
fur. Yeah.
what is the coolest? And this is probably something that you know what, this is a good way to frame it. What is the coolest thing you've seen a person outfit wise wear that they made themselves?
Oh, I already have an answer for this one. Okay, there's two different things. One, there is, what is his name? He has a specific like stage cosplay name. I can't remember what it is. But basically, he's a stormtrooper, but he's always red, and it's like he's Adidas themed, like he's wearing sweats, but it's a full stormtrooper armor, and he carries a boombox around, and he'll like break dance and do the moonwalk. And he travels around in Midwestern conventions, and I wish I could remember his name, but he's so cool. And I've seen him at multiple conventions. And it's this middle-aged dude. He's just breakdancing as a stormtrooper. It's so cool. And another one that I've seen locally is I think it must have been a mom and her two kids, but the mom was dressed like head to toe as the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, wow.
And her kids were dressed as like the card army people.
Mhm.
And they made like everything themselves out of like cardboard and stuff like that. And it was like a family
Wow.
thing, and it was super cool.
Parenting, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of how parents would do. I don't know what you would call it on the west side of my state in the occupied zone. They would have this like mountain man rendezvous type thing at a local park. And so there'd be people dressed up and living in like teepees and stuff like that, and they'd be selling stuff. But it would be a family thing. So there'd be the kids dressed in buckskins, and they'd be building the fire and cooking stuff and all that other things. And I thought at the time it was really cool.
Is it like a Ren Fair? Like a Renaissance fair?
It's not a Renaissance fair, but I actually went to a Renaissance fair once. I didn't dress up in anything. Part of it was cool, but I think there was a lot of people who confused it with an emo goth fair.
Was it the steampunk people? Because the steampunk people.
Yeah, I was about to say that's more
Yeah,
of a steampunk
I mean,
thing.
okay, so no joke. There was this one. I don't know if she was actually Russian or if she was just doing a Russian accent, but she was dressed in a steampunk type outfit. She was actually pretty cute. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Imagine that, TJ.
I know, shocking. But but it was just funny how the goth people were taking over this fair, just all like they were wearing all leather, and it was not a cold. It was a warm day. It was in the middle of like summer, fall season or whatever. But that's where I was thinking about all this other stuff going on with cosplay, where people who it wasn't intended for specifically try to overwhelm and swarm something like that. I mean, the fair is pretty cool.
There's a lot of different subcultures kind of within stuff like that too. Because like I know we brought up the steampunk people, and actually my local Ren Fair has like specific days. So like one day is like medieval day, one day is pirate day, and then one day is like Scottish/Irish day where they have like traditional games and stuff that you play.
Nice.
So I wonder if maybe it was something like that. Or I don't know. I feel like if you're part of a subculture, for whatever reason, you're more likely to be accepting of another one.
Yeah.
So like maybe the goth people were like, hey, there's Ren Fair. That looks cool. Let's all get a group together and go, just because they're part of another subculture.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the coolest prop that you've seen someone, aside from the outfit, but it's a prop that actually someone brought that they were able to get past security?
I have a friend who I don't know what armor it was because I don't play Skyrim, but her and her boyfriend made an entire like head to toe out of foam set armor from Skyrim, and she had a giant sword that was like almost the size of her body because she's about my height. And they put light up lights throughout like the armor underneath her and inside the sword, so it lit up from like underneath the armor, and it looked like it was like glowing like fire and stuff, and the sword was all lit up, and it was super cool. And she made every single bit of it by hand, and there was like chainmail underneath it too that she literally hand linked to put underneath the armor. It was so cool.
Essentially won every contest she walked into.
Oh yeah, and she did win the contest. Yeah, it was amazing. It looked awesome.
Very cool. Now, you did mention video games. Did you currently play any tabletop or card games?
No. I tried to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm really bad at it. So and don't get me wrong, like being a girl, when you walk into a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, you have an immediate advantage because they get so nervous. But when you suck as bad as I did at the game,
it evens out.
It evens it out.
It's not an advantage.
Yeah, my girl leverage is totally gone. And then they're like, oh, she actually just sucks at the game. I'll just cheat and she won't know, and then I'll beat her.
Jeez.
So,
okay.
No, I don't play current tabletop games. A lot of the stuff that I'm into, I'll like play with friends, but I'm not into it competitively at all.
Gotcha. That's more the card game anyway, the more the competitive. And then you have the cooperative, things like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, or if you go old school, you go Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever. So that's one of TJ's favorite games, I think. TMNT.
I didn't even know there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
There is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle role-playing game, yeah. It was put out by, I want to say Steve Jackson Games, but that might be wrong. And then Rob is a huge Cyberpunk fan.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I posted something Cyberpunk a little bit ago, like a few months ago. Oh, because the I guess with Cyberpunk 2020, a bunch of people were going nuts saying it was racist and sexist.
Oh God.
Yeah, but and against the guy who
I want to start stabbing people when they're saying that shit. It's like, shut the fuck up. God damn it. You're ruining my game. Fuck you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Rob's starting to sound going, get off my lawn.
Pretty much.
Get off my lawn.
Pretty much. Get off my lawn. God damn it. Don't, you want to take on other things. That one there is sacred ground. Leave me the fuck alone. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
That was my first interaction with Cyberpunk at all, was all these posts that people that I follow were quote tweeting, making fun of them because they were calling the dude sexist and racist. And I guess apparently a black dude wrote the original story.
Yes,
he did, yeah.
Like, guys, a black man wrote the
stupid.
story. It's not a white male. Calm down. So
That's like that thing recently about the comic book.
Exactly. I thought that was so classic.
It's like great. It's like, no, we're two women, you dumbass.
Oh, I saw that. That was hilarious. Because her name was Blake, I guess, and they just assumed it was a dude.
Yeah, well, because they made the breast on the woman, ridiculous.
They made the women attractive. So
yeah, it's like, all right, it's men, boys like boobs. What's the problem? imagine that
is
shit.
A meme in the making.
Exactly. We like boobs. What's the problem?
What is the problem?
That would be a good TJ meme, but that might be a little too much for TJ.
That's too much.
Yeah, we'll leave it. We'll leave it to the pound sand. So that's good.
Cleansing fire, totally fine with that.
Cleansing fire, we'll leave it to that. Yeah, of course, absolutely. whatever you're comfortable with, TJ, we'll go with that. So, but yeah, Cyberpunk, things like that. We had Rollo on, and he talked about Warhammer, and that's still a great thing as well. So, although we haven't played that yet, no, go ahead, TJ.
Okay, here's my question, because I've been interested in some of this stuff, like I was saying, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I guess one of my questions would be, here's the question. What would you say to someone who's interested in getting, let's assume they're in their mid-20s and they're interested in getting into cosplay. And you can give different advice for men and women based on whatever, if you think it's different. And two, where's the dividing line between cosplay and other types of stuff where you're dressing up, but it's just not an appropriate thing for cosplay, where people are going to, sort of like dressing up like a goth and showing up to a Renaissance fair or medieval LARPing. Like, you're here to dress up as a maiden from the Middle Ages, not dress up as a high school, from the 90s or something like that.
Yeah, advice for pretty much anybody getting in is, at least what I did at first, I stumbled across cosplay because I saw this show on the Sci-Fi Channel called Heroes of Cosplay, and it was basically a kind of reality TV show / documentary about a lot of the older people in the cosplay community that have been doing this forever, that make all their own stuff, and it would follow them around, and they sell prints, and basically they're making a living off of it. And I knew that there were local anime conventions and stuff like that, but I didn't know anything about it. What do you do there? Does everybody dress up? Do I have to dress up? So actually, the first time I attended a convention, I kind of just wore like a generic Japanese schoolgirl uniform. I was like, I guess this works. So I just showed up with like pigtails in my hair, and the guy actually was like, yep, that checks out, because you get a discount if you wear a costume at a lot of these. And I wasn't wearing a costume, but he just assumed that I was. So I was like, okay, cool. There's not really, honestly, the fandoms blend a lot, and like I kind of said, a lot of the subcultures kind of crisscross. So that's why at the anime conventions you'll see furries, and I've seen bronies dressed up, I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of, at least in my experience, conventions are kind of like a mixed bag of all the different nerd subcultures. So that's like when people say, so you only do anime conventions, I say, well, people dress up as Darth Vader and comic book characters at this kind of stuff too, even if the main focus of the convention is anime or comics or vice versa, because everybody just pretty much comes together at that point. So I would say,
Right.
if you're not into anime or comics, usually if you're going to look at a convention, you can there's a lot of groups, of Facebook groups for all these conventions that are on the bigger side. And you can ask them, hey, does anybody at this convention cosplay comics or anime, or what's kind of the mix here? Can I cosplay from Star Trek? That kind of stuff. And people are pretty welcoming and nice about it. They'll let you know if you're going to be like the one weirdo in the anime wig or not. They'll tell you.
Right.
So my other advice is just, since it's actually a really good time to get into it, because since this has become more mainstream, there are tons of cosplayers who just have YouTube channels dedicated to how to cut wigs. Here's this foam technique. Here's this sewing pattern for $2 on Etsy you can buy from me, because I had to struggle and figure out what pattern to use if you want to get that into it. There's just a wealth of resources online, specifically on YouTube and Etsy and like craft apps and stuff like that. You can pretty much find out how to do anything just by Googling it with cosplay now. And you'll find somebody that struggled to make the same thing that you're trying to make, chances are. So that's the good thing. So for people that are worried about it because they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I didn't know what I was doing. I had to find out which costume shops were trustworthy to buy from and which wig companies are good, so I don't look like I'm wearing like a $2 Halloween store wig and stuff like that. So it's really easy to figure stuff out that way. And for the people that are nervous, the only way you're going to know if you like it is if you try to do it. And that sounds really stupid, but that's just the truth. I felt more awkward in my generic costume walking around with people that were seriously cosplaying characters than I did when I put on my latex suit for the first time and I showed up and everybody came up to me and was like, whoa, where'd you get that suit? Oh, I love this character, that kind of stuff. Most of these people are welcoming, and that is a good thing. There's a good thing to an extent about the kind of culture that these conventions have now, as long as they don't find your Twitter if you disagree with that. If you're nervous or you're nervous about costuming or you think your wig looks bad, no one's going to say anything to you at the convention. Like, they're going to be nice. They might even still ask for your picture. There's group meetups are a really cool thing for new cosplayers. So for bigger shows that are popular that year, or even like there's Marvel meetups at these and DC meetups where everybody that's cosplaying from Marvel will get together and they'll take a huge group photo. and you're standing around a bunch of people in superhero costumes of superheroes that you like. So they're really welcoming, honestly. And that's the good thing about them. I haven't, you might feel weird at first if you've never done it before. And I definitely did. I was kind of nervous walking in what I was going to be dealing with. But I've never had anybody be openly negative to me at a convention at all, to be completely honest with you. And I haven't attended bigger ones, but I feel like that would be more likely at small conventions, honestly, because you're more visible. So
yeah, exactly.
Right.
The larger conventions just sort of feel like a number.
Yeah,
you really do.
So you were mentioning you're going to dress up in doing a Legend of Zelda. Are you doing Zelda, and which one are you doing? Sheik or the dress thing?
I'm doing her Breath of the Wild outfit.
Okay,
so not really traditional at all, to be honest. It's her the one where she's wearing pants and the belt and the blouse.
Wow, I have stopped following Zelda. I used to be a fanatic over Zelda when I was a kid, and I now remember that,
which was like 3 fucking years ago.
No, you jerks. No, I was all into. For me, everything peaked with Ocarina of Time.
Oh no!
And so,
didn't you mention? Did we? Wait a minute. We had a discussion of this, like the second or third episode, didn't we?
It was we had a discussion.
It's called
not about
Zelda
cosplaying, but
no, is Zelda sexist? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were probably trying to spruce her up in the Breath of the Wild or something like that. But I heard a very deep sigh. I feel like there's a story behind it.
It's a deep sigh because if you have not played Breath of the Wild, and I'm very bad at video games, I can't even figure out the damn combat system on the Switch controller, but it is a beautiful game. Like, just sitting there watching my fiance play through it 3 or 4 times, and they keep adding downloadable content, so I'm acting like it's the same game over and over, but it's so gorgeous. And a lot of people don't like Nintendo Switch and stuff like that because it's a little bit different playing on that than other stuff, but it's a really pretty game, and the story's really good too still, and they didn't ruin Zelda at all. A lot of people, the cool thing about Breath of the Wild is they actually added like voice lines in the game. So Zelda and Link, Link's voice acted. He just makes oof sounds most of the time.
Yeah.
But Zelda actually like has a voice, and so some old fans were like, "This is wrong. She's not supposed to talk. I just want to read the box of text." But it's a really pretty game. To be completely honest, you should play it.
Yeah, I've got
that's just me watching.
I've got some buddies of mine who are really into Zelda, so that's why I was playing it with their Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
I sound old now because I just stopped I stopped with the Nintendo 64 back in the 1990s and all that. But that's I guess that was the fear as well. I've always loved Zelda. I follow the stuff, meaning I read about it. I follow the reviews, and at some point I just may get around to picking up the game, the series again. And so that's what makes me happy is that at least it seems that series has been, fans will complain about it. They have speaking parts. Okay, compared to what they've done to I don't know, the the Marvel comic series. We're like, guys, you got lucky. They gave her speaking parts. They didn't turn her into a man. Right? It's not the Legend of Zelda-ish, and it's now she identifies as a man, like the latest Thor movie that's coming out. So I'm just hoping that Shigeru Miyamoto, I think that's his name. I just hope he's protects the series. And fortunately, he's Japanese, so they just don't care about that stuff. Apparently, according to John, our buddy who's on this. That isn't infecting their stuff, and so thankfully, since Nintendo's a Japanese-based company, they still stick to, from what I understand, kind of the traditional stuff. They understand that men want attractive, feminine
boobs.
Girl.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but let's go, TJ.
Yeah,
we know that they like boobs at this point. Like, exactly. They really like boobs. Actually, speaking of Nintendo, there's kind of this meme that's been going around the internet because I guess a lot of other consoles are censoring Japanese games when they come over here, like their boobs
Really?
and stuff, and shrinking them and covering them up and stuff like that. Nintendo gives no shits about that. There's this, what is it game called? Xenoblade 2. And the main characters, wow. Like, they're not censored. We'll just put it that way. It is full. It's like those memes where you see the girls like wearing a thong and a bikini. It's like, here's my armor. That's that game, and it's amazing. And it's,
Well, it's like
really
like those fighting games. Well, it's like those fighting games where the girls are Japanese games where their armor. Yeah, exactly. You were saying, and this was like early back in the 90s. Though what was funny is back then is that isn't what drew the ire of the moral outrage crowd. It was the violence, right? Yeah. It was I think it was Mortal Kombat was getting all this kind of crazy stuff. And so I just think it's funny that now that girl's too pretty. That girl's got too much of a traditional figure. Yeah, she doesn't look like a land whale. You know, what's the problem?
Yeah, it's like there was a lot of outrage. I don't even remember why it was brought back up. I guess maybe a new Soul Calibur was coming out. I don't know, but I remember playing the Soul Calibur games on the PS2, and my cousins and I would fight over who got to be Ivy Valentine, who, if you don't know who that is, she is literally basically naked and her weapon is a whip. And we'd be like, she's so cool. You'd be like, look, she's so pretty and cool. I want to be her and fight against you. You weren't thinking, Mom, why are there boobs on the PS2? Like,
we're offended. We're offended.
It's just so bizarre.
And, we didn't grow up and become, well, at least, I'm speaking strictly for myself here. I don't know about the other two gentlemen. We didn't grow up screwed up. We didn't screw us up seeing that stuff.
You're the one with brown hands, TJ.
Yeah, that's from grabbing wood. That's from grabbing wood. I got.
What about your wood?
Oh my gosh. For those of you in the audience who are not
I told you we were going to bring it up.
I know.
I did warn you.
Right before we went live, I was grabbing. I was
grabbing
unloading.
Wood? You
were such a jerk. I was unloading a cord of wood out of my vehicle that's been aged, no joke, for 20 years.
Your wood's aged 20 years. Wow, I love it. That's fantastic. Awesome. All right, but anyway, so but seriously, you were unloading wood.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
and
did you get?
No, we had to watch out for black widows. They're big in this area.
That was actually my next question.
So,
like spiders and things like that.
The husband had died, I believed, and the elderly couple, and she's just trying to get rid of stuff. And she said that some of that wood had not been touched in at least over a decade, if not more. So we're talking about wood that's been aged for over 10 years, and it's good wood. In there. Yeah, some of it's larch, which is a tree that's common around here that's good for kindling. So just a lot of great stuff, and I have a River Rock fireplace. So I'm excited for this winter. Last year I was burning a lot of wood that was that had not been cured properly.
I have a question, TJ.
We have two perverts on this show. I apologize to ladies and gentlemen.
I wanted to know.
You and Mackenzie, you fucking perverts. Good God.
No, we're the ones talking about the boobs.
Boobs and wood. Boobs and wood. TJ, I have a question.
Yeah, choose it carefully, Sonny.
Did it ever occur to you to actually
goddamn youngsters?
Get off my lawn. Do you have gloves?
Yes, I have gloves.
Okay, but you decided to do the Spartan route and just pick up the wood with your bare hands.
No. Well, that was at the very end. I had to stack it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I had the well, especially when we were pulling the wood out of the piles that they had, because that's where I had to check each piece to make sure that there was no black widows. We found at least two.
Oh, okay.
And those are other spiders. I've gotten over my arachnophobia, but there's certain spiders that you don't mess around with, and black widows are one of them.
That and the brown recluse.
Yeah, the brown recluse.
Yeah.
But the thing with
the chat's pretty funny. Go ahead.
What's going on there?
He went in raw with the wood.
Joke over
That's a great
this shit.
way to go. RZD, nice one. He went in raw with the. And I didn't even think of it. No, remember, TJ. No
So
gloving.
somebody's saying a cord of wood 4 hours is the limit.
The
I think
limit.
what he's saying is
Yeah.
it would have at least taken 4 hours. Right. I have to go back Friday to get more of the wood.
Gotcha. Well, how many?
Apparently, there's a two drink.
He had to inspect it by each piece by hand.
Yeah, Rob.
Yes.
There's a 2 drink minimum over at Rob's place tonight.
Yeah, yes. Yes. Well, now he's drinking water, right, Rob? You're drinking
Right,
water?
I gotta fucking slow down here.
Yeah. Untouched wood for 10 years. That's right. There's a lot of jokes in that
turning
one.
as red as his fucking
I-
shirt.
I know, right? I don't even touch myself.
I'm just trying to think of a. Oh,
God.
never mind.
Mackenzie, I'm glad you're a good sport with us. This is fun.
Thanks for the Dick and Fark joke episode.
I've heard worse.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering, do
Dead
you
bedroom.
get like, because you have apparently you have a Facebook page or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you get guys posting creepy stuff in the comment section?
Not in the comments.
Not in the
No.
comments. Oh, what is that?
Oh, they give you direct messages, right?
See, there's a reason why I learned with Twitter to close my DM since
That makes sense.
Bless Jack gave us that option on that website. Facebook
Yes,
doesn't let you do that. So, honestly, not a whole lot. Right after I made my Facebook page, it was probably at like 10,000-ish likes. Some guy emailed me basically asking if like I wanted a sugar daddy and I would send him photos. I'm like,
God.
You should have fucking monetized that. Are you kidding me?
no.
That's what
And
Rob does on the side.
People do that though. Like there's a
Yeah.
whole subset of people call them bikini cosplayers. It's basically making fun of them, but they make bank and they,
They're called thoughts.
they have premium. Listen, I'm trying to be nice, TJ.
Thoughts.
Well, that's
They
why I
have their
said
premium
it.
snaps and
Walter fucking Cronkite over here. They're called
they have their
thoughts.
premium snap and
Oh,
they
yeah,
give
the
it,
premium
they give it
snap,
out
yeah.
to you for $50, and if you screenshot, they kick you out. And
Well, you could always go the bathwater route.
Well, I was thinking more like bitter tears. She could put one of her political, diatribes or one of her opinions up there, and when all the left starts crying, just start bottling that shit up and sell it for $30 a piece. Just
There
the
you go.
bitter tears. Here's the bitter tears of the left, guys. Here, guzzle it down.
there's
$30.
actually the bathwater thing is really funny because I used to be friends with that girl on my personal Facebook because she has a regular Facebook. And the reason I like her is because she's doing it the right way, in my opinion. She's fully embracing it. She knows exactly what she's doing. That's why she did the bathwater thing. She's self-aware. She's like, haha, I know they're going to buy my bathwater because I'm a giant internet meme. She knew that they would buy it. These other girls, they'll do that and they'll try to still be like, oh, but I'm not like that.
I'm not a thought.
It's like, guys, it's fine. I mean, it's not my thing, but more power to you if you're going to do it, but don't pretend you're not.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that it's when they go, just because I do this and this and this and this and this and meet every definition of a thought does not make me a thought. It's like, you could have fooled us,
Well,
at least not, and that's more, I'm not even so much I'll use the word judging. I'm not judging her as much as I am the guys who buy the bathwater.
Yeah.
Because
Well, there's that
if
too.
if there
Yeah.
weren't loser men in this world, she would be doing a real job. She would be doing something else with her life. But because there's thirsty men, thirsty losers, she has a job where she can just do whatever she's doing online. And so I can't get angry. I can't get angry at them as much as I do the men. It's just like
the
the
internet has overturned the rock, and that's what's crawled out. So
Well, and I like what Mackenzie said, and I'll paraphrase it and wrap it up in like one sentence. Go big or go home. Don't go half in. If you're gonna fucking do it, fucking do it. Just embrace it. Fuck it. Go big or go home. And for that, I can respect her selling bathwater. It's like, not that I would buy it, but hey.
Hey, some people were drinking it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
But there you have it, fuck it,
See,
do it. If you're going to go all in, go all in.
And the thing is, that's why I get, this is when people are outraged. Can you believe she did this? I'm like, yeah, I can totally believe she did this. Have you seen the men out there that are like, how did she become so famous? How is she making all of her money? She ain't just like, there has to be an audience that needs to be exterminated.
She's been in a lot of hot water actually, because her and I guess her boyfriend that she's with, apparently on her Patreon, she was selling, or her Snapchat, she was selling some other people's nudes and not her. So that's when it's like, really? Like, you can't, you're that lazy.
Like, she wasn't making enough money already off of men's thirsty dreams.
She makes a ridiculous amount of money. And like, I respect honesty, like, more than a lot of traits. So, if you're doing something that I find morally reprehensible, at least if you're honest about it, I'll be like, okay, I can respect that.
The customer is not being deceived. I think that's the important thing.
My Twitter, I get one of the most common complaints I get from other women, because I guess I tweet about men's issues a lot, so they assume I'm a tradcon. And I'm like, I'm wearing a skin tight spandex suit in my profile picture.
Yeah, where's your fucking sundress and your sun hat? God damn it.
And your garden trough.
I'm not. Maybe I'll retake my profile picture, but just put a sun hat on. And
you should fucking do that. You should do that just to fuck with people's heads. Put on a sundress and a sun hat.
I mean,
and watch the TradCon thirst happen.
Well, but that's the crazy thing is that's that's the flip side of the coin. Is you've got this girl selling bathwater, then you've got the girls on the other side who are also ethoughts, but they're selling something else even worse. They're selling false hopes and false dreams of, oh, if you like my Facebook comment and if you love my Facebook post and subscribe to my Patreon, you might have a chance to actually get to be with me or something like that. I'm just wanting to live a traditional life. Even though I'm, like you said, the honesty thing, as opposed to just saying, I'm an attention whore and I want attention, kind of like the bathwater girl.
Yeah, I mean, I respect Belle Delphine more than I respect, I'm not going to say any names.
Yeah, we know. We know what you're talking about.
We know where you're going.
Conservative thoughts.
Like, come on, dude. There's clips of you saying you hate men on the internet. And you're tweeting that you hate feminism. You are, in everything but name only, a feminist. Get out of here. And people accuse me of that all the time. They'll come and be like, oh, especially when they see cosplay. I have a lot of followers who said, I'm not gonna lie, when I followed you, I thought you were another ethot, because I have a Ko-Fi people can donate to. And so they just assumed. And I don't get mad at them, because that's so prevalent online. And I figure if people are actually gonna listen, and I have people tell me, when I first followed you, that's what I thought you were, but I stuck around and I realized, okay, over time, your views haven't changed. You've been saying the same things. You don't just do that. You don't have a premium snap. It's literally just my hobby. I'm not lying to anybody. I tweet about having a fiance and I'm married all the time, to the extent that other women are saying I'm doing it to brag and they get pissed off at me. So I'm not selling anybody a lie. I'm honest about that kind of stuff. So that really bugs me, because it gives me a bad name too, because then people assume I'm doing that shit because they see other girls doing it and it's profitable. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I didn't have any morals, I'd hop on, but no thanks. Like, I'm happy. I got a real life. I don't need a bunch of internet people. So yeah, it's nice, but it's just ridiculous.
It's funny you mention that, because when you first followed me, and the very first thing is like, I check every follower that follows me, just see if there's someone that I want to follow back. And initially I'm seeing your profile picture and it's like, oh, Instathought. Okay. And I just kind of stayed away, but then other tweets and replies from other people started showing up on my feed. And then it's like, I started looking into it and it's like, oh shit, she's actually got something to say. She's not just, oh, look at me, I'm being a tradcon, or oh, look at me, I'm being a thought. And it's like, oh, someone that I could follow, that I get something out of. And so, yeah, because I typically don't follow a lot of women on Twitter, just because either they're masquerading as tradcons or they're just being thoughts. And it's like, I got better things to do.
Well, and I mean, I could get offended at that, but my view is I have a lot of people who all their criticisms of me are things that I have literally never said. They have no idea who. One, it's the internet. Nobody knows me. I don't even know you guys just from talking to you on a podcast. So you can't let a bunch of, and this is the mistake a lot of women make. If you're gonna put yourself out there, you can't let that kind of stuff get to you, or you have to be able to pull yourself away, turn your notifications off if a tweet goes viral and people are saying nasty things. Turn the notifications off. I have a friend who is pretty big in the political sphere, and she messaged me and she was having serious emotional problems because people are sending her death threats, all this kind of stuff. So I was like, listen, mute the 3 words that they're saying so you don't see tweets with that word in it. Turn your notifications off. Have your boyfriend manage your Twitter. If you can't, there's no shame in not being able to do it. And if you can't, you got to be able to step back and say, hey, I know, well, my personality is something doesn't bother me if I know it doesn't apply to me. But some people can't get themselves out of that emotional space. So like I tweeted this today, not a lot of things. There's a few things the red pill guys regularly talk about, and the emotional woman side of me is like, that's not me. That pisses me off. I'm not like that. Like, oh, I'm not like other girls.
No, Walt.
Yeah. Yep. And then I think about it. I'm like, shut up to myself internally. Shut up. Just scroll past the tweet. If it doesn't apply to you, there's no reason to get mad about it. Because then you think, oh, but I know 8 people at least that are exactly like that. And it logically makes sense. So I get a lot of flack for generalizing. I'm like, people, you can't get through life without generalizing.
Right.
You're going to piss somebody off. So if you're not smart enough to realize that just because something doesn't apply to you doesn't mean it's true, then following my Twitter is not for you, because that's what a lot of my tweets are, is pointing out general trends and why I think they're a problem. So, which is necessary if we want to improve anything in our own lives and society in general. So
it's like when the 5'9" co-host of this show occasionally, he loves to dig in on reporters, and I'm a reporter in my state, and he's just talking about how they're the most worthless people on the planet. A part of me wants to say, well, I got some of this stuff that there's a reason why the industry is where it's at, but then it's like, it's not. He's not talking about me. Like, I know he's not talking about me. So every time people criticize reporters now, I'm just like, they're talking about some moron at CNN. They're talking about the idiots at NBC or CNBC or the communists at all the different places. They're not thinking of TJ Martinell living in the mountains in the heart of Cascadia. They're thinking about someone else. So unless they say, include my name explicitly, I just assume people aren't talking about me when they talk about that. It's almost a question of, do you identify with the people they're attacking? If you don't, then just let it. It's not about you. But if they attack, right? Say what?
Just scroll right past it.
Just scroll right on. Just keep going.
People will respond to my tweet and they'll be really angry, and I will literally respond to them. What does this have to do with my tweet? Because I can tell they feel personally attacked. And some guy today just really came at me just right off the bat. I don't even remember what the tweet was. And I said, what does it have to do with my tweet? And he immediately responded, oh, sorry, I read it wrong. Yeah, because you got emotional and you immediately responded. Calm down for 5 seconds. Just think about it.
Classic dude, who hurt you?
Show me where the doll hurt you.
So crazy. And
show me where the jerk hurt you.
People on Twitter, I have a girl that I didn't know, but that my fiance knew back from high school. And when we first started dating, I added some of his friends on Facebook because I wanted to be part of the group, and And so I had just been friends with her for a long time, and we disagreed on politics. That's fine. Not a big deal to me. Well, to her it was. And it was to the point where I would tweet something and she would assume that it was about her. And
so she thought you were subtweeting.
Yeah. And it got to the point where she blocked me. She came after me for a little bit, and I said, listen, I honestly, like, I'll at you in a tweet if I'm talking about you. I added somebody the other day. I was like, what's your opinion on this? And they DM'd me and they're like, what's your game? Like, if I'm talking about you, I will at you in a tweet. I will ask you the question directly. Or if we follow each other, I'll DM you. I'm not gonna, so stupid. But
so there's your next tweet. Believe it or not, motherfuckers, it may not be about you.
And usually it's not about you.
It usually isn't. And I mean, like, sometimes I'll see something and it'll inspire it, but like, there's just so much, like any social media platform, there's so much shit talking back and forth, and it's just ridiculous. And
I just don't take what people say seriously. I just don't take what people say seriously. I think it's just emotional vomit. So they say something and I just ignore it. Unless somebody actually says something intelligent or makes a point that I feel like I need to respond to, then I'll do that. But most of the time, it's just Twitter's become such a, on every side, it's NPCs everywhere.
Yep.
You know, you're like Link. Legend of Zelda.
It all comes back to Link.
Yes, and you're trying to talk to people, and they just say the same thing. My boy is lost, and I cannot find him. Da, 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 da. Like, that's all that person's ever gonna say. It's like going through Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. That dog is never going to move. That guy's never going to get on the boat, and that redhead is never going to be bought.
It's like, I don't know. I don't understand that. It's just like people have a need to respond to absolutely everything. And like you said, that's how I make connections, and people email me to go on podcasts and stuff like that, because I try to genuinely, if I agree with someone or like something they said, make the connection with that person. And don't get me wrong, I'll respond funny stuff and kind of poke fun at people every once in a while, but they're always blue check marks and they don't count as people. So that doesn't count. If I say I had a follower get really, really mad at me, I forget that I have more than like 2,000 followers sometimes. And I will admit there's sometimes people, I'll just quote tweet someone to try to make a point, not to attack them, but I want to clarify my point, forgetting that my followers might take that as, okay, attack. And I do feel bad when that happens, but I got blocked by this person. They said I was sending people after them, and I'm like, I quite literally just forget that I have that many followers. I didn't mean to send anybody after you. And if I did, it wouldn't be them tweeting you. So if people just get way too emotional about it. At the end of the day, it's just an app. And I had somebody basically accuse me of wanting followers and all this stuff, which anybody that knows my story thinks that's hilarious, because I don't market Twitter at all. I just got really lucky. A few big name people like Mike Cernovich and people like that retweet me occasionally. I get lots of followers from that, and I appreciate that. But that's why I have followers. It's really not anything that I've done, and I'm just a woman, and that makes it easier. So, which a lot of people get pissed off at me when I point that out. I'm like, it doesn't mean you're stupid. Just because people follow you because you're a woman doesn't mean you're stupid. You can be smart too, but initially they're probably following you because you're wearing a skin tight suit, and that's fine. But you know, it's just people get mad when you point out obvious things that contradict what they think. Is basically what Twitter comes down to.
That makes them feel uncomfortable and holds a mirror up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. Is there anything else, Mac, you'd like to add as far as like anyone getting into cosplay for the first time?
Yeah. Feel free to. I mean, if they find my Twitter, all my links are in my pinned tweet. If anybody has any questions or any advice, I have people message my Facebook page and email me all the time with questions of like where to buy things or how they should make something, and I usually try to help people out with that. So if that's the only thing stopping you, feel free to reach out to me about that kind of stuff. I'm more than willing to help people out with that, even though I'm kind of new to it myself. So
Excellent.
Go ahead
And
and
that,
plug yourself too while you're
I was
at it.
about to say, yeah, just
And
where everyone can, all the
we're all
avenues.
about whoring ourselves out here. So please, by all means, whatever
Well, as long
website
as
you
we're being
got, all
honest.
that stuff.
So yeah, my Twitter handle and my Instagram are @_ Kenziepuff, KENZIEPUFF. And my cosplay handle name is actually in the title of this video. I think my cosplay page is Kenziepuff Cosplay. So if you search that on Facebook, you should find my Facebook page. And I have some political stuff too, but all that's at Mack and Liberty on YouTube and on Facebook too. So I have 2 separate pages in case people don't want to see cosplay or don't want to see politics.
Gotcha. Covering all the bases.
Yep.
Nice. And Rob, where can we find you?
You motherfuckers out there can find me at
Wow.
robsays.net.
You hear that, you motherfuckers?
That's right. And you guys, you're all intelligent. So all the links to Twitter, YouTube, all that shit, it's all on robsays.net. So just go there, sign up, do your thing. Yeah, do you.
There you go. TJ.
You can go to tjmartinell.com. You're smart. You'll figure it out.
There you go. And I write occasionally on masculinegeek.com. I have books in the works. I have one book out, Vincent LaRosa. Go over to, what is that noise? That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
That's TJ. Something with your technical difficulties again.
Oh, Jesus.
Bring wood. Yes, bring wood. Go over to Masculine Geek and sign up for the newsletter. Most of the people in the chat already know about this, but if you're hearing this for the first time or watching this for the first time, realize that we put out content every Monday that's novel, that we pretty much don't talk about, and it's new and exciting, and you can start your week off right. Don't forget the TJ meme. Yes, do not forget the TJ meme. I will be pushing that out occasionally during the weeks to come. You'll be seeing the TJ meme and in its different incarnations. So go over and sign up for the newsletter. You can go on the website in the top right-hand corner. You'll see the little box to sign up. We do not spam you. We do not send out unnecessary emails. It's once a week. Maybe going forward in the future, we may use it to send out updates, but that's about it. Or the visual aids in the newsletter. Visual aids. Occasionally we put out visual aids, especially if it's going to come down to TJ's wood. We'll definitely have out visual aids for that. So there we go. So having said that, I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. I want to say thank you to everyone who will be future watching or listening to this. We love you all. And until next time, keep the fires burning, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thanks.